There was relief for the mortgage belt today as the Reserve Bank kept the official interest rate on hold at 4.5% for the fifth month in a row. But the Reserve also signalled interest rate rises will be required, quote, at some point to keep inflation under control. This is because record revenues from the Chinese-led resources boom continue to inflate parts of the Australian economy. But how long can Australia continue to ride in China's slipstream? Business editor Greg Hoy reports.
We are seeing basically a two-track global economy.
The widening dichotomy in the world economy is fueling currency and trade tension, with increasing protest that China is deliberately constraining the value of its currency, the renminbi or yuan, to encourage greater exports.
Now, it is the judgment of the IMF that in view of the very limited movement in the Chinese currency, that the Chinese currency is significantly undervalued.
Made in China, overtaking Japan this year as the world's second largest economy. The export-driven, inexorable rise of the dragon economy continues, and so continues to fortify the good fortune of the lucky country.
Coking coal, iron ore, natural gas, and increasingly even agricultural commodities. So with China's demand growth being very strong, we believe China's growth will continue to underpin demand for global commodities.
JP Morgan's chairman of China Equities and Commodities, Jing Ulrich, rated by Forbes magazine as one of the world's 100 most powerful women, rejects fears that the China boom will wane anytime soon.
We're seeing some orderly deceleration in the heavy industries, in infrastructure investments, but going forward, we believe GDP growth will still be between 8 to 9%.
The problem for China is while most Asian markets remain buoyant, China still relies on a healthy export market to the world's largest economy, the US, where the prognosis is not so good. Chronic over-indebtedness persists, and despite productivity improvements, the double affliction of unemployment and underemployment, which combined infect 18% of America's workforce. Some think that blaming China is just a smokescreen by the US government.
They've failed to solve the unemployment problem, and they're trying to be seen by the voters as the election day approaches as doing something about it.
American billionaire Wilbur Ross, who recently visited Australia for the Forbes Global CEO Conference, buys and restructures distressed companies around the world. Today, it's the United States that remains distressed, he says, and needs restructuring.
I'm one of the few people who thinks that America should have a weaker currency than it does, because that's a way to equalize in the international scene our relatively high cost of labor.
Until 2 years ago, Japan was Australia's largest trading partner. Today, Japan, like the US, is battling economic influenza.
In the history, the country who enjoyed the growth of the economy, almost all the country enjoys the increase of population. Now we are facing the reduction of the population. Secondly, 2040 or 2050, at least 40% of the population would be over 65 years old. So this is another problem which we have to overcome.
With an increasing shortage of customers, Japanese industry suffers from what's known as excess supply capacity, causing strong deflation. So, on top of its massive and continuing stimulus spending, Japan has also invoked the wrath of the United States, having recently sold off around 2 trillion yen to stop its currency rising to record highs against the falling US dollar.
Somehow, yen became very strong. So manufacturers are suffering so seriously.
Eizo Kobayashi is the chairman of the giant ITOCHU Corporation, a global Goliath employing 55,000 staff across its 700 companies, straddling metal production, machinery, textiles, chemicals, food, forestry, and much more.
I'm sure we know how to adjust ourselves. But if we face a kind of sudden change, it's very tough. It's the same situation for any other countries.
But the US House of Representatives is rattling the sabre, last week voting to give the White House authority to impose tariffs on both China and Japan.
This is about taking our country back.
China's foreign ministry reacted strongly, hinting at retaliatory measures if the US proceeds to take action.
U.S. lawmakers are putting a lot of pressure on the Chinese government to let the currency appreciate more strongly and faster. But I think in the near term, this is very unlikely to happen, given the concerns over the health of the export sector and unemployment.
So, while Europe continues to struggle under sovereign debt, it's feared the huge US economy will falter for at least 2 years. But fortunately, the federal government expects in the years ahead another waking giant, India, will emerge to become Australia's third largest export market behind China and Japan. Though India is far less reliant on cheap manufactured exports than it is on computer-based services, posing a considerable challenge for Australia's professional services sector.
India has also, like China, not been affected by the recession. We hope to grow by about 9% this year.
Girija Pande is chairman of India's vast TATA consultancy services group headquartered in Mumbai. TATA takes advantage of India's lower professional wages, using its 164,000 staff to deliver computer-based technical, engineering and back-office support services to leading companies in 45 countries, including this one.
Australia has been much better for us. There has been a steady growth here. We work with some of the largest banks, some of the largest retailers, the airlines. So I think we have a very nice list of customers here.
The golden age of resources is set to last for now, driving up the Australian dollar, but driving down competitiveness of other Australian goods and services. Bearable perhaps while the commodities boom lasts, but the global economy today serves as a reminder of the reality Australia must prepare for should it deplete its resource endowment and have to survive more on its wits, as others are striving to do today.
So we have a major serious issues involved, but I believe we have a very strong confidence we could overcome.
Every single month, Japan has had a positive trade balance by concentrating on high intellectual value-added, technologically advanced products. That's the direction the United States has got to go.
And sooner or later, it's the direction the lucky country will also have to go.
Business editor Greg Hoy.